Hello.
You looking all cozy.
Cozy in my Gold Coast setup.
Nice. Very bougie of you.
Doing my Byron-based best life.
Live your best life. Yeah, it looks like you guys are having so much fun.
Yes, we are. It's been so overdue, honestly. Like, I haven't taken a trip since, like, a proper getting on a plane trip since like 6 years ago, going to Japan. And
Wow.
yeah, it's like time flies, right? I know it's like so cliche to say, but I hate myself for saying that right now. But it does feel like that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big trip, to be fair. We were there for like 6 months living in a camper van. So it was like we really used up our holiday trips. But no, this is a good dear friend. And like it was time. There was also like, that bit of, having had my giant nervous breakdown, like those, that was also initial contribution to not going anywhere pre-COVID. And then COVID. So somehow it wound up being many years since I've been away, but here we are. This is the friend that you make, you have the extra nudge to go and try. And I'm so glad I did, because it's just been wonderful.
Oh, that's great. How was the plane ride for you?
Good.
Like,
honestly, like, because I used to work as a flight attendant, it kind of felt like, it's like when you go back to like your childhood home and you're like, it's different, but it still feels like home. Like everything feels familiar.
oh, that's great.
Smokey. Hi, Smokey.
He went running.
Oh, what is your Auntie Mel's Australian voice like the lure of death?
I think so. He was like, vroom, out of here.
What is that in the background?
That's Shangela. She has grown. No, it's right. She's right. She just has. Yeah. No, she has a friend. She has a friend. The friend is fake, just so you know.
Poor Shangela's going to get a complex about having that sat next to her.
Yeah, I'm like, this is what you're supposed to be. Grow. It looks like you guys have been having a great time and just eating all the good stuff too.
Yeah, she's spoiling me rotten, honestly. And like, she's got a 6-month-old. So like, I was like, we can just chill and just don't worry. But she's still spoiling me rotten and taking me everywhere and meeting the baby. Yeah, she's a good old soul friend. That's my other Angela.
I thought so. Yeah. He looks like an Angela. He looks like an Angela. Yeah, I got the good vibes. I could see it on the screen.
I am convinced that name is like touched by the gods. I'm just like, Angelas are just good energy and just good people. Give me all the Angelas.
Yes, I've never met an Angela I don't like, I'll tell you. Except for once in high school. But I think, I don't know. She just didn't like me. I don't know.
I hate people like that. It's like they have no reason, but they just don't like you.
Yeah, I think because before she was the only Angela, and then I came along and I was Angela too, and
she could not compete with the new model. The new model was out of her league.
Welcome to Of the Publishing Persuasion. I am Angela Montoya, author of Sinner's Isle, to be coming out next year in the fall of 2023. And I am here with the Byron Bay herself, the queen of Australia. She is as golden as the Gold Coast can be. Here she is, Melanie Schubert. Melanie, how are you?
I am very good, my friend. And yes, I am coming to you from the sunny Gold Coast, and it is indeed sunny. It's funny because I'm just at the tail end of reading Calculated, Nova's book. Because yes, I'm a slow reader, but I've gotten there. And it's so funny because there's this point in the book now where the Gold Coast randomly came up, and I was like, and I'm in the Gold Coast right now. I was like, what are the chances of that? It feels somehow predestined. I don't know what for, but
It does. It really does. Well, no, I have to bounce on that because our special guest today, Eric Smith, who, I mean, everybody knows and adores Eric Smith, literary agent to the stars, a star himself. He is an author. But his latest book, Jagged Little Pill, which is, written with Alanis Morissette. And I am going to see her in concert tonight.
That's right. Tonight.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
I forgot. I know you told me this, but I did not realize it was the night of the day we filmed the podcast. There's some weird synchrodestiny happening here. I don't know what it means, but I'm just like, we're in alignment. We're vibing life. My coffee is hitting all the right chakras. I'm so used to that.
Yeah. Isn't that weird? Yeah, we are in alignment with whatever, the universe. The writing gods are on our side. They're listening.
I also feel like this is probably where superstitions are born from. People like us are like, well, I booked my concert on that night and it's lined up with our interview. So it must be destiny.
It is destiny. It was meant to happen. Yeah. How weird is that? And I wasn't sure, like, timing wise, if it was going to work because, I just didn't know what time the concert even was. Yeah. But I was like, I am not going to miss this. So I will stay at a hotel near the concert. I will do whatever I have to do. But it's actually only like 30 minutes away. So my friend's picking me up and I don't have to drive and I'm happy. So
that's so cool. Yay.
How
have you been?
Look at us.
Guys?
I've been good. I'm going through like the revision meltdown currently at this very moment.
I'm giving you hug.
Thank you. I think I just I think honestly seeing the concept art, like just the ideas of the book cover and kind of the excitement of the imprint and, this is their first year out the gate. And so I think I just feel like this, oh shit, this is real. They've put a lot into this book, into me. And I don't want to fail. And so and now that I'm nitpicking every sentence, I'm just like, oh shit, I have a lot needs to be worked on. So I closed my laptop today and I was like, no, I'm obviously getting too up here in my brain and I need to stop and just go have fun and step away.
Totally. Do you know what though? You could never fail because as long as you're on this journey, grinding as hard as you are, it's all part of your journey. And it's and by the way, I've read the very earlier Pitch Wars version of that book, and that was already a masterpiece. Even if that was on the shelves, I would buy that and paint it all over my body, and you would have fangirls screaming your name. So, but I know that feeling so well of we've talked about it before, just the ultimate highs you can feel and the ultimate lows. And it's so stark. Only other writers understand it. It's one day you can literally be like, I am the gift. And the next day it's I am literal trash with nothing to offer this industry. And it's gonna pass. But I'm proud of you for giving yourself a day. Because I think when you're feeling like that, that's the right choice. Because working in that headspace is torture. Actually, it's torture because you just feel so overwhelmed by things. And the best thing to do is step away and remember life outside of writing and just how fabulous you are in and of yourself. And that shines in everything you write,
Yeah, I thank you. Yeah, I agree. I think honestly, having these conversations has kind of helped me shift of okay, I'm feeling this way. It's not the end of the world. Like, just take a break. It's fine. You know, mental health and your well-being comes first over everything. And so, like, I think maybe if I were in this spot a few months ago, I would have just kept going and like pushed and pushed. But now I feel like since we've talked so much about the importance, you know, and we had with Lakin, you know, just being able to sit back and focus on what matters, and that's you, no matter what.
Exactly.
So gotta do it. Got to do it.
Yeah. It's like I was just chatting about this with my friend. Like yesterday we went out, we went to cafes, whatever. And then kind of at a random point in the day, the baby got a poopy nappy and we just like had to pull out under a tree and change the nappy. And it was like, we're both wired that way. That was like our favorite part of the day, just laying in the grass in like under this tree, changing this shitty nappy. We just lay there in the grass for like an hour, just shooting the breeze. And it's like those moments always remind me that this is what life is about. Like the big moments, they come and they go, and they're like, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but it's like those little treasured moments, like with a good friend, with yourself, where you kind of like, I don't know, it makes you able to appreciate the big moments when they happen, you know, which we've talked about. And it's just, I'm really feeling that a lot lately. It's like this, it's like how Lakin said, it's weird that the guests that come on and the conversations that happen kind of align with what you're going through at the time. It's such a peculiar phenomenon. Another myth will be born from it, no doubt. But you've been grinding so hard as well. Like, it's basically been nonstop for you since Pitch Wars. Like, it's hard to keep that level of energy. It's actually, I think, impossible to keep the energy high all the time, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like after we had our pitch draft race, I crashed after that. And I just let myself crash. I'm like, we're good. We're good. So I put so much energy into whatever I'm doing that sometimes I got to take it back in. I got to sit and watch a K-drama. I got to do something. So concert, whatever. I went and saw Margie yesterday at her house.
Oh my gosh. That's so cool.
It was,
how did it go?
It was so, like, we went to actually, like, the intention was to do a little writing, you know, like hang out and write. We didn't open our laptops at all. I was there for like 4 or 5 hours and we just chatted the whole time because we haven't actually really just like been together because just COVID and crazy, right? So it was so fun. She has the coolest like cottage in the world. She is a vibe.
Picture that. I can imagine that. That's so her.
As soon as I walked in, I'm like, this is so cool. She had like dark blue walls with gold framed, beautiful art and just plants. And
I love that.
I know. Well, we're going to have another creative on the show right now. Eric Smith. I cannot wait. I am thrilled to sit down and chat with him. So do you want to read his bio in case I glitch?
Sure.
I'm going to use that as the excuse.
You just dumped this one on me because it's such a long, prestigious bio. This is a lot to read. Like, it is a killer of a bio. So Eric Smith is a young adult author and literary agent with PS Literary living in Philadelphia. His latest book, Jagged Little Pill, the novel, collaboration with Alanis Morissette, Academy Award winner Diablo Cody, and Glen Ballard, is an adaptation of the Grammy and Tony award-winning musical. I just had to stop there for a moment. Like, I've read that before, but every time I read it, I'm just like, he's such a gangster. Like, come on. His recent...
Straight up gangster. Straight up.
His recent publishing gangster. His recent books include You Can Go Your Own Way, Inkyard Press, and the acclaimed anthology Battle of the Bands, Candlewick, co-edited with award-winning author Lauren Gibaldi. It's currently being adapted for film by Playground Entertainment. His novel, Don't Read the Comments, was a YALSA, had to go slow for that one, YALSA 2021 Best Fiction for Adults selection. The paperback is out now. He has short stories and essays and anthologies, Color Outside the Lines by Sangu Mandana, Soho Teen, Body Talk by Kelly Jensen, Alonquin, Allies by Dana Alison Levy and Shakira Bowen, DK, All Signs Point to Yes by Candice Montgomery, Cara Davis Aro, and Adrienne Russell Inkyard, and Adoptee to Adoptee by Nicole Chung and Shannon Gibney Harper. His other books include the indie-bound bestseller, The Geek's Guide to Dating, quote, through Quirk, Inked, Bloomsbury, and anthology, Welcome Home, through Flux, and contemporary fantasy novel, The Girl and the Grove, also through Flux. His writing is represented by none other than the Jennifer Azantian at Azantian Literary, which blew my mind when I read it, because obviously she's been our guest and I just love her.
Yes, I had no idea. And when I saw that, I was like, it makes total sense. Yeah, it makes total sense.
Oh, your hair looks great. Did you zhuzh it?
Yes, I did. I was looking a little flat because I just took a shower, so my hair's still drying. But
Same. Mine's so flat. It looks glorious, whatever you did. Okay, I'm going to let him in. We're recording. Let's do this. Okay.
Woo! Hey, Melanie. Hey, Angela. How's it going?
Hi, Eric. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is wonderful.
Thank you for joining us. We were so excited. We were just actually reading over your bio before hopping on with you, and we were just in awe. And Melanie called you a literary gangster, which I agree.
Thank you.
Amazing. Yeah. Now let's get right into it because we have so much to ask you.
Sure.
You know, just been following your journey, and I think I first want to say I heard about you like through Pitch Wars, I want to say. And then ever since then, I've just been watching. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey, where it all started? Were you a writer first or an agent first?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was pretty much always a writer. You know, I was one of those like cliche kids with like the typewriter at home, which I guess sort of ages me a little bit. But like we had a word processor in my house as a kid, and I would write little stories and give them to my friends. And I desperately hope no one still has any of those stories in their respective houses. And I went to college for English. I went to grad school for English with the goal to be a writer and work in publishing. It took a little while to get to where I wanted to be. You know, I applied for endless jobs in New York City right out of graduate school. I really couldn't get a foot in the door based in Philadelphia. And then I got lucky. I got contacted by a publisher in Philly who wanted me to do social media and digital marketing and fun stuff like that for them. And that was Quirk Books. I spent, like 6 years there before I jumped into becoming an agent. I still wanted to be working like on the books as opposed to marketing them, and becoming an agent was the next best thing. It was a little hard to become an editor when you're in Philly and there's only 2 publishing houses. So yeah, agenting it was. During that whole time though, while I was working in publishing, I was writing and trying to, I wrote a lot of essays and tried to do short fiction. I was just kind of bad at all of it. I didn't really realize it until I started like actively trying to pitch stuff around. It took a minute to really find what it was I wanted to be working on, and it all kind of happened by accident. I started writing about video games and relationships was sort of my thing. I was writing about like the friendships you discover in the game Chrono Trigger, and like the way adoption and family is portrayed in like Final Fantasy games, and they ended up going a little bit viral. And one day my boss at the publishing house called me upstairs and he's like, hey, we have a book idea. We want to do a dating book about relationships and where you talk about video games, and we think you should write it. And that's how it kind of started. I got lucky building my platform there.
Yeah,
that is amazing. How cool is that? Like to be there already and then be presented with this idea. How freaking fun.
Yeah. No, it was really great. I thought I was getting fired because he had called me and it was like in the morning and he was just like, oh, I need to see you upstairs. Can you come upstairs? I was like, man, they figured out I don't know what I'm doing. I'll go up at the end of the day after I spend all day looking at jobs, and they didn't fire me, so that was good.
Always a good start.
I hate that feeling though. It's like the principal's office every time. Automatically your brain is like, what did I do? I deserve it. Like
Yeah. And and it was while I was there at the publishing house that I kind of fell into young adult books. I kept trying to write. I thought I was going to be like a literary fiction writer. I am not a literary fiction writer. And we were working on this book called Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. And I hadn't read a YA novel in forever. And I had to do the marketing for this book. And I was like, how am I supposed to market this book if I don't read YA books really anymore? So this was in 2011, I want to say. And I read a whole bunch of YA that had been out at the time, like Beth Revis, and who else had books out at the time? Anna Banks. I read Anna Banks. There were a whole couple in that batch. And I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I should be reading and writing. This is the voice that I gravitate towards, like very young, very immediate, very everything is intense and stakes driven because you're a kid and everything feels that way. And that was it. That's what started me trying to write YA books. So thank you, Ransom Riggs.
Yes. Ransom. I mean, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar. That series was so different too. It was just one of those, it was eye-catching. Anytime you went to the store, it was right there, and the pictures inside the book, like I have them all just to look at them sometimes.
I have to admit I haven't read them, but I've seen them everywhere. I was more of I have that same like kind of refinding YA, and like, I don't know, did we grow up without YA? I feel like I was reading middle grade when I was a young adult. But like finding like Laini Taylor and The Hunger Games, I mean, I know there's such obvious ones, but just like I love reading again when I found them. And, like I'd had such a dry spell for like years and years of not really reading, and just finding those things and being like, yeah, it's so, the pacing, it's so, I can't put it down, better than a movie. And it's just such a wonderful thing to rediscover when you do.
Oh yeah. It had been a while, because when I was a teenager, I was mostly reading up. I read a lot of Michael Crichton for whatever reason. And then what was the other books? I read a lot of the Magic the Gathering novels, which I guess isn't reading up, but I read a whole bunch of those. I wasn't really reading YA.
Yeah, now that you say that, I seem to remember sneaking quite a few Daniel Steele novels off the bookshelf at a very young age. We all did it.
Yep, why not? Just hide them under your bed. It's fine. Nobody has to know. Mom doesn't need to know. So what sort of genres do you represent, Eric?
Yeah, so in my agent life, I work on a little bit of everything. In the nonfiction space, I work on memoir and essay collections, cookbooks, pop history, wellness books, witchcraft books, all kinds of stuff. And then in fiction, I work on middle grade and young adults. And then I work on like genre blendy literary fiction. So like, maybe it's a family drama, but there's time travel, or maybe it's a friendship breakup, but maybe there's a dragon. Like there's just something weird in the middle of it that makes it kind of complicated. So like, if it feels like The Time Traveler's Wife, or it feels like Station 11, that's the kind of book that I'm drawn to as an adult.
Well, I can only imagine how many times or how many books and manuscripts, come through your emails onto your desk. What is something that really just makes it stand out to you? Is it voice or just that little bit of magic?
I mean, it has to be like a unique story. Something about it has to stand out from like everything else. And I read a lot. I have a pretty big bookshelf. It needs to feel different and fresh compared to what I've been seeing. Voice is a big thing. Pace is a big thing. Voice is that kind of thing that I feel like you can't really teach it. It's like the writer's style and what they're going for, and like the result of all the books that they've read over the course of their life has amounted to the way that they now write. So voice is a really big thing for me. yeah, just a standout story, great voice, great pace. And then it's very clear they understand the space that they're writing in. You know, if I'm reading a rom-com, I want to be laughing, you know, and I want it to be sweet, and I want to know that they're going to break up and get back together. You know, I know that there's going to be a happy ending there. Like, I can tell that the book follows the rules, and if it's breaking the rules, it's breaking them because it knows what the rules are, you know?
Ooh, I love that. Learn the rules so you can break them like a pro, or whatever that quote is. I love that so much. And you can tell, hey, like I feel like when you read something, you can tell when it's an intentional breaking of those rules, and that they're in control of that, and they're going to bring you back and show you the story the way you kind of want it to play out. So do you enjoy the slush pile, or is it like, is it overwhelming, or you're like, yes, I can't wait to read it?
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, that's how I find authors I want to work with. That's how I make a living. You know, that's how I engage in the business. So yeah, no, queries are fun to read. I don't have a problem with them.
Well, that's good, because I'm sure you read quite a few.
No, I do get a lot.
Switch, you know? Yeah, just a little bit. Let's switch it back to your writing career, because when I saw that you worked on Jagged Little Pill, well, I have to say, how weird is this? I'm going to Alanis Morissette's concert tonight, right after this. Yeah, so I was just laughing so hard when it all just lined up. And I was like, okay, Alanis, you're watching over us as we speak. How was that? How was working with her? How was writing the book? I mean, it's got to just be a wild moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. You know, I was working on it pretty much all of 2021. I wish it was a more glamorous kind of story, because like whenever I tell friends or family about it, they're like, "Oh my God, Alanis Morissette! Oh, Diablo Cody, she won an Oscar. Oh, that's so. How did this happen? Like, what was it like?" And I was like, "Oh, it was just a lot of email. We emailed a lot, and like let me see, between like February and April, I was working on like a synopsis to adapt the musical, and like I would just email it to them and the team, and they would take a look, and they would give me notes, and we would talk about different story ideas and the way I wanted to go with the book. And it was a lot of that. It was just a lot of back and forth, a lot of emailing. They're all very nice, you know, like it was awesome. But that's really all it was a bunch of emails. I did one event with Diablo, which was really cool. You know, she's really, really wonderful and really, really nice. But that was it, you know.
Pulling behind the curtain, the glamorous side, right? It's like you have it pictured in your head. It's you guys are sitting at the writer's table, just like sipping coffee together, talking about the 90s, whatever it was.
No, I mean, the reality of it was in April, my wife wanted to go visit her family in Michigan. So we drove to Michigan, we rented an Airbnb. She visited her family, and I worked on the book while we were there. And that's when a lot of it got done, you know, in between family visits and in a random Airbnb in Lansing, Michigan.
I love it though. But that's the thing, like at the end of the day, it's work, you know, and like, and thinking about juggling that on top of agenting, like they're both very demanding. There's a lot that you have to pour in of yourself into both. So how do you manage that and like avoid burnout and, you know, look after your mental health and all that jazz?
Yeah, it's hard. So I give myself a pretty firm work-life balance. Even doing this podcast is kind of rare because like 5 p.m., that's when the day is over for work. I leave my computer, I leave it at my office. Like I have this backup laptop that I'm on right now. But I go to my office, I work from 9 to 5, and then I don't touch my email or my computer until the next day. So like everything needs to get done in that little amount of time. So I'll write during breakfast, or I'll write at lunchtime, and then I focus on my authors during my actual work hours. And that's it. So giving myself pretty firm work-life balance sort of routines there makes it easier in a way. It sounds like it's harder because I don't let myself write at nighttime or anything, but it makes that time more precious. And, you know, hanging out with my kid is more important than all the books. So that's all the stuff can come later.
Oh, I gotta
That is-
chill.
Yeah, I know it hits home because it's even like feeling the pressure to be on social media and kind of market yourself and, you know, constantly being out there. It does become overwhelming. And, you know, at a certain point, it's like, oh, okay, I can't. So no, and seeing that you have like a set, I'm leaving my laptop. Well, thank you, by the way, real quick for coming on here and for doing that.
This falls on the evening. Like my wife and I take turns with bedtime, so this falls on her night for bedtime. So I'm good to chat.
Yes.
Perfect. That worked out for us. But it's something like finding that balance is so hard.
Yeah.
And being firm, I think, is what I really took from you is no, at 5, I'm done.
Yeah, it's so true. And like, I feel like I used to have like one day, I'd be like, okay, Saturday's my day. I don't do any writing, I don't touch it and whatever. And then I found that I was like, but I record on Fridays, so I'll just like quickly get it up on Saturday for the podcast. And I do these like sneaky little things creep in and whatever, which was fine when I had like a quieter week. And then I had a busy week. And I was like, oh my goodness, putting this pressure on myself to, and then I was writing on Sunday and I was like, okay, well, if Saturday is not your day off now, you need to pick Sunday. Like there needs to be that day that I carve out that you don't do anything, because you're right. Otherwise it does just creep in without those kind of firm guidelines of like no writing work.
No, it's important to, make time for yourself and other people. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we totally appreciate you carving out the time to come on, and especially knowing those, you know, firm deadlines and whatever. We appreciate it.
No problem.
Especially, I mean, for someone that you're juggling both ends. You're a writer, you're an agent, you're doing the whole thing. Can we go back to what is like a day in the life of Eric Smith like? Like, when are you starting? How are you doing this? Tell us it all.
I mean, let me see. I get my kid on the bus every morning, and then I walk to my office. So usually I get to my office around like 9:30. I spend like the first like hour and a half of the day like getting caught up on all my email, because there's usually a wild amount. I sort out my queries, I sort out the manuscripts I've requested, I make sure everything's nice and in order. And when I'm all caught up and the email's cleaned out and I have the stuff that I have to get to, I get to all of that. I try to make sure I'm reading something every day, and I'm digging through submissions every day. Try to make sure I'm checking up on my authors' submissions every day. So it's just a lot of reading and emails, really, is what it comes down to. If there's a contract that's in for an author, that usually takes over everything. Like a contract can take a day or two to like just sit and pore over and make sure everything's lining up with previous deals that you've had, or if it's a new contract, that takes even longer. So it depends on what's on the plate, but email, that's what tends to always happen, like right away. And if there's time, you know, at the end of the day, if like 4 o'clock hits and I'm feeling good about being caught up in everything, then I'll write a little bit, maybe a little, as a treat.
What's your favorite part of everything, like that you really look forward to during the day?
When I get to call one of my authors, when I get to have one of those like, hey, we have an offer for something, let's have a conversation, you know, time to make dreams come true. That's like the best phone call. Like, I love that. I got to do that. I got to do that yesterday, so that felt really good. So yeah.
That's the best. Speaking of from the author side, whenever I do see my agent's name on my phone, I stop everything and I run, because I mean, hopefully it's usually something good. So it's got to be good knowing that whenever your name pops up on someone's screen, they are running for it.
It's usually a good sign. Something good is happening.
Yeah. If it's not good, I'll get a text or an email. So usually the phone call, I'm happy.
I do that too. I think that's a thing.
That seems like a solid way to do it because a call's more overwhelming. So if it's exciting, you kind of want to inject that extra intensity into the excitement. But if it's like something hard, it's like have it in words, let the writer have a quiet moment to process their pain, like just quietly sob in the corner, whatever. What about like the least favorite part, like a part that you may dread or
the worst part of the agenting thing is usually when you have to say no, when it's a conversation where it's like, hey, like this book isn't right for me, and you have to send that sort of depressing email to say that you're passing on something. Like I never like doing that, especially when it's something that I'm kind of excited about, but I just don't know quite how to work on. Or having a conversation with an author who I'm already working with, where it's like, hey, we've come to the end of the road on submissions for this book. It's time to work on the next thing. And that's the worst because, they put a lot of effort into that book, and it's always a bummer when something doesn't sell.
Yeah. And I feel like it's so important. Like I always appreciate when agents share that emotional side of it, because it's something we've heard from our listeners as well, that like, ultimately there's a person on the other end of the agenting, like especially when you're querying stuff. It's not like this, nobody's just like, we don't want this from you. Like they're also like feeling that like we want you to succeed and whatever, but obviously there's a limit, it's a business and whatever. But yeah, it's kind of nice to hear that the hardest part is the same for the agents and the authors. It's just the industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let me ask you real fast, because we know that you are represented by Jen Azantian, which we've had her on the show. We are obsessed with Jennifer. She is a goddess. Did you have to query like being on your end of things? Or was it like,
I left my old agent back in 2020. And I had to go pitch again, like that was, I had, what book was out then? Don't Read the Comments was out. So I had books out. Like I had another book coming out in 2021. But even when you have books out and you have like a career going, like you still gotta pitch people. So yeah, I had to send a query letter. I emailed Jen and I was like, hey, I know this is weird because we know each other, but I need a new agent. Here's all the stuff I'm working on. What do you think? And yeah, no, it was I had to pitch like everybody else.
And she was probably thrilled that you thought of her. Like that's something I'm realizing as well. Like when you network, it's not like this big taboo to approach people as long as it's like professional and whatever. Like they might be excited to hear from you, and I was just like, of course she represents you. It's like the awesome people always find each other.
Yeah. And I mean, the story still has to be good though. Like I have a couple of authors who had books before me and agents before me. And like, even though I was excited to see them in my inbox, like the project they were working on still had to be good, like I still had to want to work on it. But that was the case because they're all great.
That's awesome. I want to ask, what advice would you offer to writers getting ready to query or are already querying? I keep hearing it's just this crazy time right now, right? It's just the slush just keeps growing, and even submission wise. And so what sort of advice would you offer just all of us?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say to be more patient than you would have been before. Like, I mean, you're already told to be patient because it's publishing and publishing takes forever, but like even more so now, because most agents and editors who you see on Twitter and you hear from all the time, they are juggling work and family. They're working from home. They're dealing with childcare and all of that stuff. So there's a delay on a lot of things because people have to also deal with life and not just work. So I don't see that stopping anytime soon. Like I would love for it to, mostly because I worry about everyone's, mental health and ability to not burn out during all this. But a lot of people are working at home and trying to make it happen. So just be patient. Everyone's trying their best, I promise.
Yeah, I feel that for myself even today, because I'm revising at the moment, but, you know, working full time, having kids, trying to be a partner, trying to keep the house in order, just all of these things just keep building. And so, you know, finding that patience and the, like I was telling Melanie before we hopped on, being able to step back and just be like, I'm not doing any of it. I'm just going to relax, or I'm going to go see Alanis Morissette. You know, it's that taking the time to do what is really important. And that's keeping yourself okay and happy and healthy. And, you know, it just feels like publishing is kind of just a like bleeding of just society in general, right? It's just, we're all just dealing with 1,000 things at every second of the day.
And I think, like, you know, we always say like it's a marathon, not a sprint, whatever. But like, I think the actual repercussions of that with this is just like you actually just can't continue to push at like a certain level for the length of time it can take for something to happen in publishing. And that's what I'm realizing. Like when I was like obsessed with finding an agent, and I was just like, gonna do this nonstop, chup. And like at a point, you're just like, this is not productive. This is not helpful. It's not like you can't keep that output for the length of time it actually takes to get a book published, to find an agent, especially if you're looking for like a good one, because everyone's looking for them too. So it's going to take extra longer if you have those kind of goals and expectations. And yeah, that downtime, that rest, that stopping the push for me has just given me back so much enjoyment in life, because I'm like, writing is one thing in life that brings me this joy and fulfillment, but there's so much other beauty and stuff that I can get that from too. It's definitely a learning curve for us all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you currently open to queries?
I am. Yeah. No, I'll be open. I know we close for like end of August to like early September, so not for a very long time. So there's a little tiny window that we're closed, but yeah, I'm mostly open all the time.
Is there something you'd love to see in your inbox?
Ooh, I'm looking for more of that adult, like genre blendy lit fic. So, you know, again, if you're writing like a family saga, but someone's a magician or something, like perfect. Send that to me. Just like, you know, stuff that's a little weird and unusual tends to work really well for me. Looking for rom-coms that do something different, you know, like I like a little bit of genre in the rom-coms. I recently sold one called The Spy and I, that's all about a woman who gets confused for her top secret agent sister and ends up falling for her sister's partner while they are trying to save her sister. And it's like an action-packed adventure, but it's a rom-com, yeah, sort of like The Lost City, if maybe you saw that. Like, you know, it's a rom-com, there's action and mayhem and all that stuff. And then horror, I'd love to find some good horror, but that's taking a little while.
Yeah. What are you reading and watching at the moment? What's kind of your go-to when you have time?
I am watching Downton Abbey right now. I'm on the last season. I know I'm 10 years late, but I don't know. I've been like going through and looking up shows that I missed, and that was one of them. I was like, oh, all right, let's give it a shot. Let's see what all the rich white people are up to, and it's been fun. You know, I've been enjoying. And then I started reading Goldilocks by Laura Lamb, which I've been meaning to read for a really long time. Like that falls into that perfect like literary fiction sci-fi kind of space, and it's amazing. It's incredible.
Yeah,
that's so fun. I love that you're watching Downton Abbey. A friend and I just saw the second movie. I don't know, like obviously I would not be in that world necessarily, but like every time I watch it, I just get this like warm and fuzzy feeling. I'm like, I would happily serve you guys any day.
Yeah, there's like one brown person in like season 1, and like he dies right away, and like it's not the most diverse show, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, they're you know, I like how the shows are trying to get a little more diversity in there, and I'm happy to see it every time. So, you know, it's good. It's fun.
It's like Sex and the City. I'm braving the new one that they released, and there's just like some cringe moments. I'm like, they're trying, but like it's also like that kind of guilty pleasure of I know this is shit, but it still gives me like that kind of nostalgia from back in my college days, and I'm persevering. But yes, there's work to be done. Well, we just so appreciate you taking the time to come on tonight. Is there kind of, I see our time's ticked away. Is there any kind of like parting thoughts you'd like to share with writers in the trenches, writers on submission, authors in general?
I mean, just to, again, be patient. It's taking forever. Everyone's trying their best. And to not fall into that mistake of, comparing yourself to everybody else, like right now, especially if you're just starting out and trying to get in and things are taking forever. Like when you see that friend of yours, like get that agent, like don't beat yourself up. Like it probably took people forever to get to that friend. It's going to be okay. Yeah. Don't get jealous. Instead, support your friends when things like that happen.
I just got another chill because that is just everything. It's something so human, the emotion of jealousy, and I just feel like it's one of the most important things long term to be able to like tamp down or just kill entirely. And just like there's so much more joy and fun to be had when you're just like living with your friends' excitement, because it's such a journey, because it's so long. Like when you're celebrating everything that's happening for your friends, it doesn't feel so desolate, the journey to the publishing lands and whatever comes after, because there's so much in between parts that are like really freaking hard. And like when you have like that shared mentality of like, I'm so excited for my friend, like sometimes more excited than if it happens for yourself. That's just the sweet spot to be. And it just makes the whole journey so fun and so rewarding, because it's like you're writing family and you're all just screaming for each other. And when the down times happen, they're there to support you then. But you can like focus on something that's happening for someone else and you're like, there is hope. And just like, yeah, I really thank you for bringing that up. I love bringing that up because it's just, yes, I can't remember who else, but they were talking about that. Emily Thied. She brought that up as well about just finding the joy of like the journey and not just obsessing over those moments for, the jealousy or whatever. It's the journey.
We honestly thank you so much for just joining us, for taking the time. Like a lot of the stuff you had to say, these little bits and pieces are clinging to me because of just life. I'm needing to hear this. So thank you for all the stuff that you have to say, honestly. And I really feel like a lot of our listeners who are writers, who are in the trenches, who are authors, and, just the whole board all need that same sort of encouragement of, just be patient, and we're all humans at the end of the day, and, support each other.
Yeah. And thanks. Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was great. We'll have to have you on when your next book comes out, and we'll touch all about that as well.
Totally.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah. And where can our listeners find you just before we let you go, so they can on Twitter?
Yeah. So you can find me as Eric Smith Rocks on Twitter. And that's also my website, ericsmithrocks.com, where I have lots of querying advice. So if you have concerns about query letters or book proposals or researching agents, there's a resources tab. And I hope it helps you on your journey.
Thank you so much. And we're going to let you go and go into your Zen space with the laptop shut now. But thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, we'll see you again, I'm sure.
And have a good one, you two.